Hey guys, welcome back for another episode of the Suited Shootist. And what I'm going to do today is I was looking back and I realized that one of my old videos was kind of in need of a refresh. So that's what we're going to talk about. There's a video that I did a little ways back where I touched on what I thought were the essential classes that a civilian defender, defensive practitioner, whatever term you choose to use, should have proficiency in, because there's these multiple facets to the to this whole lifestyle. And I kind of used the path infographic or diagram from Mark Lowell at Growing Up Guns as the framework for this, and made a couple of tweaks and inclusions that aren't represented there specifically. So let's jump into it. The first one that I think is still woefully misunderstood is the legal aspect of everything. Now, again, these are my opinions. I will fully admit up front, I don't have firsthand knowledge of everything out there. So this is not by any means a comprehensive list. That being said, MAG 20 it is really still kind of the gold standard for deadly force law. And there's a couple reasons for it. I mean, number one, Mass Ayoob has been doing this longer than just about anybody else. And the way that material is presented is almost expressly to allow it to be used to educate a jury after the fact, which I think is really critical. So I know Andrew Branca has his material out there. I don't really have a whole lot of firsthand knowledge or exposure to it, but those are certainly resources as well. Uh, that being said, the classes are expensive and they take time. I'm not saying that it's not worth it, but in the interim, while you are pulling together the money and get the time off and everything else, uh, Ayoub's most recent book, Deadly Force, is also a really good resource to have as self slash continuing education when it comes to the legal aspect of self defense. Next is the other grossly underrepresented aspect of this whole thing, which is medical. And for a few different reasons. Number one, not everything that can kill us is something that we can shoot in the face. Secondarily, if you are in a defensive encounter, you very well may, probably will, require some degree of medical attention after the fact. So these are good skills to have. And I've had the good fortune of training both with Carrie Davis at Dark Angel Medical as well as Caleb Causey over at Lone Star Medics. Uh, I consider them both friends, both phenomenal courses. It's just going to be a matter of which one satisfies your particular need. Carrie's class, the one that I took, the 2 day, was a lot more comprehensive and in depth, to the point where it actually satisfied some continuing education requirements for medical service providers like EMS, that kind of stuff. Caleb seems to offer a more curated and tailored class depending on the needs of whoever he's going to teach. And so it's just a matter of finding which one sort of suits your needs best. The sort of more accessible version, although much more abridged, is going to be like your local Stop the Bleed class, as well as maybe getting CPR certified, and or possibly AED certified. I don't know of any books that are really going to effectively teach the skill set the same way that a class will. So for that, I'm not really going to go into too much. But those two specifically, I highly recommend. And if you need something in the meantime, Stop the Bleed, CPR, and AED training should all be available locally. Next, and this is the one that seems to be gaining a lot more popularity lately, is the combatives aspect of everything. And I think that this is really critical, not just for the obvious reasons. You know, not every fight that ends up as a deadly force encounter starts off that way. So there is absolutely merit to having some empty handed skills. But the other piece of it that I've gotten a lot out of is, and I've talked about this before, experiencing another person trying to physically impose their will on you while you're both trying to win is, it's a very visceral experience. And even in the controlled environment of something like a, a combatives gym, whether it be MMA or jiu-jitsu, what have you, it helps develop a degree of emotional control that's pretty important for this whole lifestyle. So when it comes to combatives classes, ECQC is still pretty much considered the gold standard. Craig Douglas, Shivworks. Cecil Birch has his immediate action combatives as well. And that one is a sort of narrower sliver of the pie because it focuses more on the attributes and skills. There's not as much scenario based stuff. So they're definitely complementary in that regard. I've taken both, as well as material from Hill Country Combatives, Cliff Byerly out in Kerrville. I've taken some classes from him as well. And the one I haven't had a chance to train with, yes, is Ben Aubin from Redbeard. But everybody that I just mentioned speaks very highly of the man. And so I have no reason to think that the material would be anything other than exceptional. I took a combatives class from John Valentine. It was under the Green Ops umbrella. I don't know if that's still being offered or not, whether it's being offered by Green Ops or whether it's being offered by John under his own combatives association. But again, all of those are very useful as a component to this. And people will sometimes ask, it's like, well, why do I need to learn how to fight empty hand when I've got a gun? Well, again, when you look at how these violent encounters tend to evolve, you may need to physically control somebody before you start accessing tools, or even better, if you're able to physically control somebody without the firearm, then you may be in a position to keep it from escalating to the need for deadly force at all, which again is ideal. So this is shaping up to be a little bit of a longer video, so I think I'm going to break it into a two-parter. So tune in next week. I'll get to the second half of this. And if there's anything like you feel like I missed, let me know down in the comments, please, by all means, because I want to hear all of this. And aside from that, I hope everybody has a fantastic week. Stay dangerous and stay sharp.